When the great eye opens, the people of Eternia shall see you kneeling to me just before you die.
I'll never kneel to you!
Yes, you will! Yes, you will! Or I shall wreak unforgettable harm upon you.
What? It's more entertaining than what we watched in the last review. Oh, Jesus. That's your title? You couldn't be any more bland and generic? Well, at least Evil-Lyn's in it, and she's one of the least stupid characters on this show.
So we open on a long pan towards a pretty important-looking fortress which is being manned by Frodo's mutant cousin, apparently.
Squitch!
Squitch? His name is Squitch. This is going to hurt, isn't it?
Who goes there?
Your boss, who is standing right in front of you, and who you have looked directly at twice already.
Put that pig sticky down before you hurt someone.
Oh, sorry, Kendo.
You're here to guard the fort, not play games.
What games? All we saw was him walking across the battlements.
Anyway, the boss hobbit or whatever states that they're guarding something important in their minds, and that they need to be careful. This, of course, causes the ominous music to play, and us to pan across to our villain for the episode, which we know from the title is going to be Skeletor.
Okay, I get that Skeletor is the big baddie of the whole series, but if this is Evil-Lyn's plot, then why the hell are we opening on him?
Ah, the Widgets Fortress.
Widgets? Frodo's mutant cousin and his boss are actually called Widgets. I'm gonna start missing Orko, aren't I?
Once I break in, I'll get what I need to finish He-Man once and for all. Forward, my lackeys, in the name of destruction!
Destruction has a name, and that name is Doug.
But enough of the plot, we need more goofy fun with those wacky widgets. Squitch gets a visit from his girlfriend, and holy God, what's wrong with her face? I get they're vaguely meant to be like dwarves or gnomes or something, but wow, these guys have some seriously unfortunate faces. Anyway, there's a bunch of pointless chatter for a minute, and then Skeletor attacks.
It's a whole gang of monsters! With Skeletor in the lead!
Oh, Skeletor! Oh, yikes, we gotta do something like... we gotta...
Like sounding the alarm!
Yes, like sounding the alarm!
Why the hell are these things guarding anything? Skeletor hasn't even done anything yet, and they're ready to crap their pants.
So after a few pointless moments of slapstick, Skeletor finally just starts blasting the door down. Why he didn't do that on his own before, I have no idea. This prompts the Widgets to realize they're overmatched, like it wasn't obvious before, and so the boss Widget sets off the He-Man signal.
Seriously, the Widgets have a fucking He-Man signal, complete with emblem and everything. What the hell?
Even forgiving the fact that it's broad daylight outside, why the hell would these things have a damn He-Man signal? Were they expecting Skeletor would attack at some point? Did He-Man give it to them? Did they make it themselves? What? As it so happens, in the nearby forest, who should happen to be walking along but Prince Adam and Cringer in all their rotoscoped glory. As they pause for a break, they spot a kid in disturbingly furry shorts leading some kind of pack animal with a cart up the hill. The cart breaks loose and starts rolling downhill. And this prompts Adam to leap into action and transform into He-Man for this pretty tame situation, actually.
Adam. Cart's still rolling, Adam. now, so just go ahead and leap in there and...
And by this point, the cart rolls off a cliff and kills 10 innocent bystanders. No, not really. He-Man catches the cart and sends this pointless diversion on its way. Then, because even Filmation isn't shameless enough to waste that entire transformation sequence, He-Man and Battle Cat go looking for more trouble, and of course they spot the He-Man signal and go racing off.
To Widget Woods! Hurry!
Meanwhile, Skeletor and his goons finally get into the fort, where the Widgets immediately surrender. Skeletor makes his demands, and why does Laura look like she's turned on?
I always had a thing for evil bastards without faces.
As it turns out, Skeletor has come for a mineral called Korodite, which the Widgets are keeping in their minds. The boss Widget stands his ground and refuses to turn it over, which prompts Skeletor to threaten to feed him to his cat. But of course, He-Man arrives and... You know what, if the Widgets have a fucking He-Man signal, this scene needs appropriate music.
So, after taking out Beastman, Skeletor...
Man, let's take him from both sides!
I'm sorry, could I see that again, please?
Man, let's take him from both sides!
Remember, there are no homoerotic undertones in this series. None. Absolutely none.
So, Skeletor tries to blast He-Man, but only succeeds in blowing up his own ship, and the bad guys take off. It turns out that the reason Skeletor wants the Korodite is because it's the same stuff that He-Man's chest harness is made of, which is apparently the source of his strength.
He didn't get any.
Korodite? That's what the sorceress fashioned this harness from. It helps add to my power.
It's too powerful for us to use, so we keep what little we find hidden in our minds.
You know, instead of, I don't know, selling it off for goods and services you might actually need. Or, you know, turning it over to the sorceress for safekeeping so shit like this doesn't happen.
Meanwhile, back at Snake Mountain, Skeletor indulges in some 80s action villain cliches.
Dolts, halfwits, bunglers, brainless idiots, you couldn't even beat a motley group of gnomes.
As he berates Merman and Beastman, oh hey, there's Evil-Lyn, and it's only 10 minutes into the episode with her name in the title.
As usual, you overreact, Skeletor.
How else can I act when I'm surrounded by such fools?
Look, I have one arm out in a dramatic fashion and everything.
Skeletor outlines his plan for those who didn't get the oh-so-subtle implications in the last scene, and Evil-Lyn tells him that what he needs is an ally to get the Korodite for him, and so she transforms into... Sabrina the Teenage Witch, apparently. Back at the fort, Squitch sees Evil-Lyn in disguise being pursued by Panther and masterfully sums up the situation.
Hey, Skeletor's mean kitty's after some poor gal.
Oh, for Christ's sake, first we had Zagras doing Ed Wynn, and now Squitch has turned into Fibber McGee.
So after some patented Filmation rotoscoping, the Widgets chuck some spears at Panther and bring Evil-Lyn into the fort. And of course, Squitch is taken with the pretty lady.
Ah, pretty lady! Pretty lady!
Okay, it's not quite that bad. Evil-Lyn, calling herself Nadira, spins some bullshit story about being separated from her family, which the Widgets, having the collective IQ of a block of cheese, swallow hook, line, and sinker. The majority of the Widgets take off looking for these non-existent parents, leaving Squitch behind to guard the place.
We know the forest like we know our own minds. We'll find her parents, won't we?
Yeah, sure we will!
Right.
Oh, thank you.
Squinch, you just stay here and take good care of Miss Nadira.
Will do, Kendo.
Oh yeah, leave your most unreliable guard behind when you know the Lord and Master of all evil on the planet is trying to get into your minds. That makes sense.
Oh, and of course, Laura's jealous, and so she storms off to go do the sound for the Filmation logo sequence. Evil-Lyn turns on the waterworks and convinces Squitch to take her into the mine, and because Squitch is an idiot even by Widget standards, he lets her into the room where the Korodite is stored. And of course, once she has it, there's no need to keep up the disguise. As Squitch runs for help, Evil-Lyn turns herself into a ball of flame and heads for Snake Mountain. Meanwhile, the sorceress, who is apparently into voyeurism, sees what's been happening and goes off to warn He-Man and tells him what's going on.
It's Zoar.
He-Man, Evil-Lyn has stolen the Widgets' Corridite. Even now, Skeletor is shaping it in the files of Volcano Cave.
Sorceress, you only saw Evil-Lyn take off from the fort before you went to warn He-Man. How the hell do you know where she's going?
Back at the fort, Squitch, like all characters who do something unbelievably boneheaded in these shows, is feeling sorry for himself. And like all characters in his situation, he's by God gonna do something about it. And knowing at least something about the Corridite, and using logic as opposed to a mystical deus ex machina, he sets off for Volcano Cave.
Wait, where are you going?
To Volcano Cave. That's the only place Skeletor can melt it.
Alright, I'll say it. While the Widgets make me desperately wish for the return of Orko, I will give the show credit for actually having Squitch show some actual logic and come up with a sensible explanation for knowing where the bad guy is going. It's not a good explanation, but it's a sensible explanation.
So we cut to Volcano Cave, where Skeletor and Evil-Lyn are forging the Corridite into an amulet for Skeletor. He-Man shows up and challenges Skeletor to a fight. Evil-Lyn steps in and sets a stone monster against He-Man.
Boy, there's a lot of stone monsters in this show.
Skeletor makes the amulet and puts it on, prompting what might be the only time you actually want to applaud the bad guy in this show. And believe it or not, these next few minutes are actually pretty fucking awesome, with Skeletor basically wailing as much of the tar out of He-Man as 80s tunes were allowed to get away with. Rotoscoped or not, it's cool to see Skeletor not being automatically outclassed in the first 10 seconds.
This is the way it had to end, with Skeletor triumphant at last!
But since it is an 80s tune, He-Man naturally gets the upper hand. But Evil-Lyn gets ready to cast a spell and is captured by the Widgets. Seriously, the second strongest user of black magic on the planet after Skeletor is caught by the gang of melted hobbits. And boy, doesn't she look bland about it. Skeletor chucks a huge boulder at He-Man, who smashes it and buries him in rubble. And of course, he starts moralizing.
Only real power comes from inside Skeletor. From courage, honor, and other things you wouldn't understand.
Hey! We're not done yet. The PSA comes in 2 minutes.
Skeletor escapes with Evil-Lyn, the day is saved, and Squitch vows never to have anything to do with women again.
I want to thank you again for all your help.
Well, if it hadn't been for me, you wouldn't have gotten into trouble to begin with.
Well, don't worry, Squinch. You're not the first to fall for the charms of a pretty face.
Well, I'll tell you, He-Man. Oh, I'm through with women for good.
Again, no homoerotic undertones in this series. I don't know why people keep saying that there are.
Oh, you are, huh?
No, I didn't mean you, Laura. I mean pretty women.
What?
No, you're pretty, but for one of the guys.
Oh, for one of the guys, huh?
And we close with the sound of Squitch getting the holy crap beaten out of him by his girlfriend. Well, at least it ended on a high note. But of course, it's PSA time! This time with Teela, who wasn't anywhere in this story, but it doesn't stop her from commenting on the events herein.
In today's story, you saw how the Widgets were fooled by Evil-Lyn's disguise. They learned that bad things can be made to look good, and why we should always be careful and question everything that doesn't seem right. But it works both ways, and that's why the saying, "You can't judge a book by its cover," is so important. What it means is that appearances can be deceiving, and you shouldn't judge books or people by the way they look. It's what's inside that really counts.
So remember, kids, question everything and everyone you encounter, but make sure you're sneaky about it so you don't look like a suspicious bastard. Oh, God, that was painful. All right, I realized the whole point of the series was to sell toys, but good grief, Mildred!
The stories were lame, the supporting characters annoying, elements and characters are introduced and never seen again, not to mention colossal stupidity like the talking comets and the fucking He-Man signal. If I were a kid again and watching these episodes without seeing any of the decent ones, this wouldn't make me want to pester my parents to get me the toys, it would make me want to change the channel to something more interesting. And you know what the worst part is?
At the time this video was recorded, I haven't even gotten through the whole first season yet. There's 65 episodes in the first season alone, and I'm through about 14 of them. Not only that, there's a whole second season of about 40 episodes, if not more, and that doesn't even count if I decide to review She-Ra, Princess of Power. So for those of you who thought we were finished raising the land of Eternia, buckle in, because I'm pretty sure we're probably going to be revisiting these grounds sometime in the future. I'm Dubious Khan. Join me next time for another trip into the Idiot Box.
Show you